Hey everybody, I'm Benjamin, aka the Terrible Australian of Supermarcy.com, and this is my video review of Infinitely Polar Bear, which is the new comedy drama starring Mark Ruffalo and Zoe Saldana. So let's get right into it. First off, I thought this film was okay. There's nothing particularly sort of memorable or remarkable about it, and I know that the film's writer-director, Maya Forbes, this is a very autobiographical film for her, and a lot of things that happen in this film actually happened to her in real life. But that being said, though, at the same time, though, I kind of feel like there didn't, even though it is based on her life as a child, I just didn't feel like the film felt authentic enough. It just felt very Hollywoody, like in the terms of its tone and its style and all that. So, but even though this is a completely independent film, that's just how it sort of felt to me. It just didn't feel like there was anything realistic or authentic about it. It didn't make me feel like this is believable anyway. But maybe that was the point. Maybe she wanted to make something that's a bit more, accessible, and one that not that can that's a bit more sort of wanted to tell her story about her life that's a bit more mainstream. But even then, I think it just would have been better if it's like just had that sort of authentic feel, like most sort of films based on like movies that are autobiographical usually are. And like I don't know much about manic depression. I only know sort of, or bipolar. I sort of only know the basics of those disorders. So I can't really say how accurate of a film this sort of reflects the illness. So I don't know. At the same time, that's probably why it just didn't feel that authentic to me, because it feels like I know one of the complaints that like a couple of years ago Silver Linings Playbook had was that it didn't feel real in terms of how it sort of portrayed mental illness. But for me personally, I felt that film, even though it was sort of a mainstream Hollywood film, it did have a sort of an authenticity to it that made it fit or believable. But here, it just didn't. I just didn't feel that at all, and the way sort of Mark Ruffalo sort of approaches his character in this film, it just felt very broad and very. I don't want to say the term over the top, but it just felt like he was trying a little too hard to show off to the character, and so how this character was affected with manic depression. So I can't. But that being said, like I don't know much about. I only know very little about the illness, so I don't know if it's actually a realist. How he sort of his approach to the character was realistic. So I honestly can't really say for certain. So, but it might be different for other people who know people in real life who have suffered through that disease. Sorry, illness. But that being said, but also like for a sort of comedy drama, it's not really all that funny. It's sort of like you're never quite sure. The tone is sort of not real. Is a bit too uneven. It sort of goes back and forth between sort of a comedy, a very broad comedy, to sort of a bit of a sentimental drama, but. And I don't feel like it really sort of strikes the perfect balance between those two. But that being said, though, it's not to say that the film doesn't have any merits. Like it is watchable. Like I wasn't bored by the film at all. And one of the things I do give the film credit for, and I think are the performances. Even though Mark Ruffalo's sort of take on the character is a bit broad in terms of the character's mental illness, I thought for most. When he sort of dials it down in sort of the more quieter moments of the film, I thought he was really good, particularly in sort of the third act, and I feel like that's where he sort of found his footing with the character and was able to sort of give a really sort of well-rounded performance rather than sort of giving a slight caricature of somebody with mental illness. And also, Zoe Saldana does a really solid job as well. Like, even though it's not a very showy part for her, but she does the best what she does with, she can with the role, and she brings a lot of heart to the character. And you know that during the course of the film that her character still very much loves her husband, but at the same time she knows that they can't always be together because of what he's going through. But at the same time, she still trusts him. So, and I thought that was kind of refreshing, that usually in films like this, they would have the idea of, somebody with mental illness looking after kids might be, a wrong type of thing. And I do give the film credit for showing that, yes, this person may have a mental illness, but he's still a loving and caring father who would do anything for his kids. And that's why so is Saldana's character kind of sees that, and that's why she trusts him to look after her when she's out doing her university course. And oops, sorry. And of course, some people might have a problem with that, but I thought the film did it in a way. So I was like that at first. I was a bit shaky in terms of that. I'm not exactly 100% sure about him looking after his kids all by himself. But the movie, as the film goes along, I was kind of won over in that regard. And also the young girls in the film, the daughters were played by Imogene Wolodarsky, who is actually Maya Ford's real life daughter, and Ashley Aufderheide. I'm probably pronounced the last name, so forgive me for that. I thought they were really good, and this is one of those cases where I feel like I did feel like the way the girls were written, it felt like they weren't portrayed as kind of real kids. It felt like they were almost portrayed more like adults, and I usually have a problem with that. Instead of when filmmakers kind of write kids characters as adults rather than actual kids. But luckily that's only for certain moments here and there. But other than that, I thought they did a really good job and in their performances, and they do have a lot of talent. And actually, Imogene Wolodarsky definitely stood out the most. But I have to give credit for Ashley Aufderheide, because she's the youngest of the two, and she did a really, really good job with her performance. And they definitely, and I like to see more of them in the future, because I think they both have a lot of talent. So overall, Infinity Polar Bear, don't worry, there's a reason why the film is called that, and it's explained a bit in the film. It's an okay, kind of average film. It's definitely not the most realistic portrayal of mental illness, but at the same time, it's a film that's, I can see, it's definitely going for more of a mainstream appeal, but not to say that's a bad thing, but I feel like if it and even though I've used this word a lot in this video review, but more of an authentic feel to it, I think it probably would have been better. But overall, it's average but watchable. So if I had to rate this film, I'd probably give it a 2.5. So, but then again, it has gotten even though I wasn't too hot on the film itself, but it has gotten some pretty good reviews from other critics and all that. So maybe I'm just the odd one out, but who knows? Maybe there are other people out there who feel the same way. So, so that's the end of my video review of Infinitely Polar Bear. The film's now playing around Australia, and so if you're interested, go check it out. And I'll see you all later. See you, everyone.